Everything feels really high stakes right now because there's pressure all around us. Is that expected? That's what I'm going to talk about today. Welcome to How to Get What You Want. This podcast is for driven women ready to claim their goals and navigate their careers with clarity and confidence. Join me as we explore real stories, tools, and strategies to help you steer your career exactly where you want to go. Let's get started on helping you get what you want. Hey, welcome. I am so happy that you made the choice to be here today because I'm sure you're feeling it. I'm feeling it. Everyone's feeling it. There's a lot of pressure right now. And I think it's important that we talk about it and think about how it affects every situation because really, when we have pressure, whatever that is, it creates situations that were normally low stakes for us. It brings it up a notch so that everything starts at high stakes. Pressure challenges you and it helps us. There's risk and reward. It's good to have pressure. We've all felt the pressure of when we have to go on vacation and get things done, how we can get this energy, this gear that is usually unavailable to us to get things done. And we think, oh my gosh, if only we had this all the time. And so that's good pressure. But long term pressure, pressure when it's day after day, especially when it's compounded by different variables, outside variables that are just a part of life that might be personal to you, to me, the stress around just different things that are going on with our loved ones, volatile market conditions, uncertainty that can create pressure. And then when you add to that within the organization, downsizing, changes of management, budgets that are constrained, those are all factors that create pressure. And sometimes it's just expected that we learn how to handle all of those things. But it feels like all the teams that I've been talking to, I can really just feel they've told me that nothing's low stakes anymore. Every meeting, every conversation, because there's this noise or this layer of stress going on, it's almost like living next to a highway where you get used to the noise all the time. But how do you really live with it every day? You're living with that noise all the time and you may not even notice it, but it provides this level of stress in your background all the time. That's what this pressure that when you don't get an opportunity to experience life without it, like there's not a pause. I had one person say to me recently, there used to be a light at the end of the tunnel, but now there's no light. And so when you have that realization, one of the things that is a factor that Gallup studies is the needs of followers are trust, stability, compassion, and hope. And they just did some research right now, and they found that the one that people are really longing for and lacking in huge amounts is hope, that the future is going to be better than our present. So when you think about pressure and living in high stakes and that need of followers, which is a need of all of us to have hope, you understand how pressure can also add to our inability to have a hopeful future because there's so much that's unknown. It is an expectation as you go up in an organization that you know how to handle stress and how to handle pressure and how to handle high stakes situations. And I'm hearing more and more of those leaders say, I can't stay motivated. This is really exhausting. But it is important to figure out how do you do that. And I think I'm not going to be able to give you the magic shot or the golden nugget that is going to change everything for you. But when you recognize the factors that are contributing to it, that's the first thing that you can do. In fact, Harvard and MIT have had research that they have found that people that can manage pressure and stress, they have better outcomes and they are able to maneuver more successfully in organizations. And they can actually create an atmosphere of collaboration because they're kind of, by the way they're moving through it, they're illustrating to others that it's okay, and they're creating the environments for people to feel open to it. Because what happens is when we feel under pressure, that causes us to be emotionally tied up, to experience emotion, which creates this inability to really think objectively. And so that is something that impedes collaboration and creativity. And so people that can manage that are able to find that for themselves and for others. And that's really important. And when you properly channel it, it enhances your focus and decision making. And you learn how to not try to boil the ocean, but take steps to get yourself out of it. It is not a myth that we need to understand how to deal with pressure. And it's really basically a reality, right? We don't have an option, especially if we're working in corporate environments where there's additional pressure there. We need to figure out how to deal with it, how to move through it, how to identify it so that we can put in place things that will help us move through it and get the buy-in, get the momentum, get the motivation for ourselves and for the people who work for us and work around us. It's really important to take this time to not just say, "Oh, I can't wait till it's over." But what can I do in these moments to practice whatever it takes to become a better manager, to move that muscle, to not to be a better manager, but a manager of the pressure that's around you, the pressure that's affecting you? How can you exercise those muscles so that it becomes something that you can deal with? And again, we can't take it away. All we can do is put in place some skills that will help us move through the pressure to get on the other side. Hey, Susie here. Thought I'd pop in. I wanted to let you know I've been an executive coach for over a decade. I work with executives and they call me their silent partner because I help them increase their confidence when they're facing really difficult decisions. If you'd like to see if we're a good fit, head over to SusieTalmanchuk.com and fill out an application. I'd love to hear from you. When I talk to teams about high stakes situations, it's really interesting. The aha they have is that high stakes moments are really personal. Some of the things we talk about are when you send out an email distribution to a big group. There'll be people in the room, they'll say, "Oh, that's low stakes for me. Oh, that's high stakes for me." We even talk about a scenario of returning a pair of shoes that you just bought. And it's so interesting that in that room, people will disagree about whether that's high stakes or not. Some people will say that is absolutely high stakes for me based on the way I was brought up, the culture I came from. Other people are like, why wouldn't you return them? That is just a no-brainer for me. So high stakes, when you think about those moments of time, are very personal to all of us. And I have a client who really experienced that. She was responsible for a project that went across a few organizations, and it was really challenging for her. It was high stakes for her because it would mean leading some tech people, some operations people, some people that she didn't really have a foundational relationship with, and get them all to collaborate together and get them to agree and get them to attend meetings. So it was a really high stakes situation for her to be managing this project. There was a lot of factors that were getting in her way just from a mindset perspective about being nervous and essentially imagining all the problems that could go wrong. And there's some real power in that, in looking at what could go wrong so that in the moments when you're faced with those problems, you've thought them through or you have a plan. But she and I worked through some of those things that were really obvious, that were factors that she needed to really work through. And it was interesting because as she worked through them and got more comfortable week after week, because this project was going to go for more than 9 months, she knew she had to do a good job. And that added to the fact that it was high stakes, the fact that it was the success of it was really reliant on her ability to lead that team through, that there'd be eyes on it along the way. And there's always things that you can prepare for, like any good negotiator would, to think about the dynamics of the room, the obstacles that will get in your way, the things that you can anticipate so that they don't put a halt to everything. But of course, like so many projects right now with so much pressure, the budget got constrained about halfway through. She was 4 months through this 9-month project, and she got word that the budget was going to be pulled, at least half of it, and that just added to that pressure for her. It was almost like in those days when she first got the news before she went to the team, she couldn't see clearly. She was worried about how everybody would react. How would she manage through it? How could they do it with less budget? They already felt like it was tight already. So even before she moved into it, in terms of communication and how to position it to the team, how to take the questions that they would be giving her, and then are there opportunities for her to negotiate? Who could she talk to? Where could she get budget from elsewhere? It was interesting just to watch her inability to function, to be honest, because it was almost like she already had a weight on her shoulders, and then there was just more and more weights that were added to it that inhibited her to even figure out how to move through. It caused her to not sleep well, to worry more, to be really short with the people that she lived with. It was affecting everything. So she got through it and she had to learn how to communicate, and she found some budget. She squeaked by with pulling budget through the executive sponsorship that helped her. She was able to find a way, and she even was successful in helping the team understand and getting their buy-in, because she knew that people are more likely to be bought in if they feel a part of the solution. So she had to take a few days when she first got the news and then go to the team and talk about it and what could they do? What different paths could they take? And she was amazed, even though they ended up finding the budget in those first few days, because she'd built a great team environment where people felt comfortable, psychologically safe to talk. They found solutions that they didn't realize were available to them, pathways that they could potentially take, and they were going to do it together. So in this case, pressure really worked in her favor in some ways, even though it got her completely sideways. She learned so much from that. She learned that when all of those things happen, to not get so consumed by it that you can't see forward, to bring people in when you feel so much pressure that you're not able to move. She really built that muscle for herself in the future. She took time to reflect on the success of it. She did get to the finish line. She did get the team to deliver the product that they were building. They were able to pull in that additional budget money to get there, but they also used their collective creative pathways to find a way forward. That's what good pressure does. She hit a roadblock, but she used the resources around her to get through. And she now has that muscle memory that she can use in the future to think about, okay, this is high stakes. This is even higher stakes for me now. These are the things that are getting in my way. And being able to identify what is the core of that. When she first started, the core of it was her emotions, her nervousness to pull the teams together. Then when she got the news of the lack of budget, it was the pressure of having to tell the team, her disappointment that was hers, but would they feel disappointed in her that she wasn't able to keep the budget? She felt personally responsible. And so we add to it because of our responses. And that's why it's so important that we learn how to identify in the moment so that we can recalibrate, so we can get our confidence, so we can get our clarity in order to move forward in a way that may be different than our plan, but in a way that we can get to the best possible solution and manage the stress and pressure along the way. I'm so glad she gave me that great example because I think it really illustrates that it's something that we need to learn to live with because it's not going away entirely. And it's a great way to learn how do you build that strength for you, those muscles, so that you can be the best stress slash pressure fighter that you can be. All right, so I'm going to give you some things to think about when you're under pressure, because I know you are. I know that we all are. So, how do we move through it? And the first tip is to think about and be able to label for yourself. I'm under a lot of pressure. This is a really high stakes situation for me. I need to understand that. And what that does is it allows you to recalibrate yourself, to think about what are your needs to get yourself through this and allow that help to happen. So when you recognize that you're under a lot of pressure, you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe instead of looking at it as such a big problem that's so insurmountable that you don't even know where to start, if you get somebody from the outside to help you look at it differently, help yourself see it for what you need to do so that you can start to put together a pathway of how you need to get through it. And maybe it's related, like the story I told you with my client, where it was related to a project, which made it really tangible for her to say, oh my gosh, this is adding to the stakes of this project. It was already high stakes. Now it's heightened more. I need to be really mindful about how I maneuver. That's the first way to understand so that you don't flounder. When we're under pressure, it's really easy for us to get sucked into doing something that's not going to move us forward because it feels good to feel like we're making progress. And it might be like being on a treadmill where we're not really making any progress. We're just moving forward. So taking the time to label and understand this is a moment in time that I need to be very intentional. The second tip is to embrace a growth mindset. Under pressure, we tend to not see the options around us. We don't see a different pathway. And what happens is that creates a scarcity mindset for us, meaning we only have one path. What are we going to do? A growth mindset allows you access to seeing the possibilities. So somebody that has a growth mindset might turn the table for themselves and say, what can I learn from this? How can I challenge myself to get through this in a way that I'm going to learn from it? And almost see it as an experiment for yourself, an opportunity for development. When we have a scarcity mindset, we do not see possibilities. When we see a growth mindset and we ask those questions, it literally opens us up to seeing different pathways. So it all starts with our mindset and what we choose to do in those moments. For you, maybe it is making space in your day where you're able to identify what of my day feels really high stakes for me, or where is the pressure, so that you can consciously ask yourself those prompts. How can I look at this differently? What can I learn from this? So that's the second tip. Oh, I know you're not going to like the third tip because it's so obvious that I know that people put it on the bottom of the to-do list or the priority list, and it's self-care. And I say that jokingly, but I say it very seriously, that whether it is when you identify a moment that's filled with pressure, that feels high stakes, what can you do to give your physical self a break? Can you meditate? Can you take a moment to grab a piece of paper and just journal about it so that you can get yourself in a different place? Can you just take some time to breathe, take a walk around the block? Just doing something. Sometimes I run up and down my stairs. I challenge myself to do it 10 times and I laugh at myself because it's ridiculous. And that adds to the relief of it. We know this. We know that it's important that we take care of ourselves, but we take care of everybody before we take care of ourselves, right? We do. I know that that is the case. So what can you do? And it's even listing those things that are your stress relievers and putting a sticky on your computer to say, okay, I feel really high stress, high pressure right now, high stakes. I'm going to look at my list and I'm going to do one of the things that I told my past self told me I needed to do. That's one way to really get yourself focused on that. So the 3 tips are to identify the moment, label it, understand that you're in high pressure, high stakes. You need to be very intentional. The second is to watch your mindset. How do you practice a growth mindset? How do you say, what are the opportunities here? What will I learn? How can I see this differently? And the third is self-care. The one that we put off, the one that we don't prioritize. Pre-think about what are those things that can alleviate the stress for you. Don't let a glass of wine be one of them. That's a note to self, just so you know. That's probably not the best way. But other than that, anything you want to put on your list, it's good to go. If this topic is landing for you, you may be in one of those moments where you really need to be intentional about how you move through. Thinking about what is creating this high stakes moment for you. Is it the combination of pressure? Is it the expectations of the people around you? You know, high stakes can also be heightened when your relationship with your leader is hampered or with your colleagues. So, taking a moment to understand what factors are contributing to the pressure that you're feeling so that you can be proactive and intentional how to do it, how to move forward. So, if this landed for you, here's the challenge, here's the prompt that I want to give you to take action. What high stakes situation have you been avoiding or dreading? That's maybe a better word. What are you avoiding or dreading? And what steps can you take today so that you're moving toward it? Moving toward it so that you don't avoid it. Sometimes pressure and thinking about something we don't want to do because it does feel uncomfortable or high stakes, the more we avoid it, the higher stakes it becomes for us. Maybe we made a promise to get it done. Maybe we know we need to get it done. Maybe we've just been facing it for a long time. We're creating our own case study around how do you apply gasoline to the fire? So, what can you do? What situation are you dreading or you're putting off because it feels really uncomfortable? And what can you do today to move yourself toward it? I know that when I even make any progress towards something that's really difficult for me, I feel better and it allows me to accelerate toward it. So doing that is really important. It makes me think of Rory Vaden tells a story in his keynotes about the difference between cows and buffalo. And his whole point is about procrastination and putting things off. And he said that what cows do is they know the storm is coming and they just stay put and the storm slowly passes them by. But a buffalo senses the storm and runs toward it. So the storm actually lasts less time for them because they just run right through it. So taking action can be powerful to make you feel in control, feel less pressure, and just have movement. It's like feeling the wind in your sails. When you feel that, you can multiply that acceleration to get through those times of high stakes, high pressure situations. If you like this podcast, I'd love you to join me on my newsletter. It comes out every week, sharing more deep stories, personal stories of how to adopt a negotiator mindset for better outcomes. Go to negotiationlove.com. You can find all the information to sign up there. And I'm so glad that you make the choice to be here. Thank you. And feel free to reach out to me. I would love to hear about your stories of how you are maneuvering successfully and becoming your own negotiator. Because remember, negotiation isn't just a skill, it truly is a mindset. Until next time.